Disclaimer: Tiff, N, the Punisher. The views and opinions expressed in this episode of Tiff and the Punisher are those of the hosts and guests solely and do not constitute legal advice, medical advice, or professional counsel of any kind. This content is produced for educational, informational, and advocacy purposes only. Viewers should consult their own licensed attorney for advice specific to their situation. Nothing in this video constitutes a threat, call to violence, harassment, intimidation, or any form of harm directed at any judge, prosecutor, police officer, CPS, DCS worker, government official, or private individual. We do not advocate, encourage, or condone violence, threats, or illegal acts of any kind. All commentary is protected political speech and criticism of government policy and practices under the First Amendment. Any references to public records, court filings, news reports, or personal experiences are presented as commentary and opinion. Names, case details, and events discussed are drawn from publicly available information or the speaker's own experiences. Viewer discretion is advised. Content may address sensitive topics, including child welfare, government overreach, and family separation. Copyright 2026, Tiff N, The Punisher. All rights reserved.
Tonight, Tiff and the Punisher, Connie Reguli and her crew are live. Years exposing CPS corruption, fighting for parents, refusing to let the system bury families. We break the overreaches, the money trail, and the constitutional weapons you need now. No soft talk, no apologies, just truth and the fight. Tonight, 7:45 Eastern. YouTube Abolish CPS, X Live. Do not miss it. Share it, be there. Tiff and the Punisher. Your family is not for sale.
They are taking our kids every day. A child a minute, no one has a thing to say for those who have been isolated. Don't be worried, you have a voice today. So listen up, everyone, here is the story. Child Protective Services is real. CPS is what they call it. They want our kids because it fills a lot of people's wallets. We all think it won't be us. We say when they come, we will be so tough. It all sounds good when there's no one to take them. But when they come, your voice gets to breaking. Stay calm, step away. CPS ain't taking no one today. We are educated. Stay calm, step away. CPS, you need to leave. I know the tricks up your sleeves. You can't do what you're trying to do. We have done our homework. Don't do a damn thing without a warrant. You will no longer will steal our kids this way. Tiff! Tiff and the Punisher have come for the calling. They are giving us the CPS warning. Their voice is loud and clear. We stop losing our kids this year. Tiff wants to fight the entire planet. She's tired of our kids being taken. God damn it. She's been fighting CPS for 30 years, bringing children home from this disgusting mess. The Punisher screaming out loud about a CPS and tear it down. I want all our kids to come back. Look at all those kids' pictures held up by Tiff Tack. Together we are stronger than we need. We will tear down CPS with hot speed. We will do so much being together. Birds of a feather fly CPS, here we come, picking you off one by one. We promise to bring back the family and prosecute the caseworkers unhandily. So give us back the kids you have taken, sending you all on a vacation. The one with bars in the windows and the only games you play are on Nintendos. Corruption in courts, here we come. We won't stop, it's done. You judges need to learn what you stand for. This is Tiff and the Punisher Warrior. Oh, and we cry out to all of you out there. We need support for a cause that many don't care. Our children are being stolen way too often. So CPS, we plan on doing the stopping.
Hey, Tiff.
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, well, I can lie or I can tell you the truth. Which one do you want?
You might as well tell the truth, because my truth's probably the same as your truth. What's yours?
I'm doing great. We have some really good guests tonight that are going to talk about some really important things, and we get to clear the air with this stuff. So I hope that there's a lot of people out there that are going to pay attention to what this is, because there seems to be a lot of confusion out here. We all talk about advocating, right? We all talk about this, that, there's some of us that don't agree with calling it an advocate because you might have state laws that say that you can't be an advocate, so, maybe you should change the terminology or something along those lines. But regardless, no matter how you look at it, they're still trying to keep all of us out of the courtroom, right? They don't want us in there helping these people. And that's a fact. So someone's got to do something about it, right?
Yeah, but if you look up the word advocate, it means you speak on somebody's behalf, right?
Mhm.
Now, I'm not saying everybody who speaks on somebody's behalf is doing the right thing. I know that
Mhm.
I do.
Mhm.
And my day was terrible today. And I just want everybody to know that this was listen. I have been looking forward to this meeting all day. This is like the highlight of my day. It was so bad. I'm so pitiful
Oh,
today.
well, but we're here now, so that's all that matters. We made it.
Yeah.
And we made it with some things. So I'm glad that they brought this up, because we were talking about the roundtables and we were talking about being able to do something like these things, because it's important that we get the right information out. Because, the problem with Facebook and TikTok and Instagram and all of these things is everybody's allowed to be out there and be their own reporter. They're allowed to say whatever they want to say. There's no filter. There's no, you know what I'm saying? Like there's nothing that stops people from running their flaps, and the problem is that there's too many people out there that are doing damage that don't even realize that they're doing damage to this cause. There's too many people out there saying that they know so much and blah, 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 and they don't know shit, and they're ruining everything. They're ruining, we hear about it all the time with Connie. People be like, well, Connie signed the asphalt, blah, blah, blah. Hey, you guys weren't there, back in 1990, whatever year it was, 5, 4, whatever, when there were 750,000 kids in foster care that needed homes to go to, when they were just piling up and stacking them into there. And the fastest way that they could get these kids somewhere was to incentivize these people to get kids into a home. So instead of throwing her name out there saying, oh, it's part of this and all that, learn the facts first, because you probably would have done the damn same. Do you want these kids sitting in a dumpster? No, you didn't want that. And this is the problem.
But this is how I look at it too, right? I've heard the same thing about Connie, and I don't know Connie personally. I've talked to her when she's been on our show, but this is what I've always said, and I said it on our show before. Just because that happened, right? We know why it happened, but now she's trying to fix it. So what is the problem?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
What is the
And
problem?
she's got a hell of a crew that's behind her. I mean, we got Terry LaPointe, we got Charlene, we got Rachel, and all of them are here tonight. And they're here with a vengeance because there's people out there that are talking about this bill and talking about regulations and talking about this. So you know what? Let's bring them out here. Let's clear this air.
Well, hold on a minute. I, I,
Oh, oh,
I just
oh.
have, that's okay. I just have something to say.
Mm-hmm,
Everybody's got so much to say about advocates. Well, I don't give a shit what they say about me because I have proven my record, right? But the
mm-hmm,
ones that are talking about these other advocates, pull up your record. I want to see how
mm-hmm,
many children you've gotten home because I've
mm-hmm.
gotten a lot.
Right.
Over
Yeah.
37
That's.
years, I've gotten a lot home,
Mm-hmm,
including 2 of my own, and they stole
mm-hmm,
my third one.
mm-hmm.
So before
Yeah.
people should talk, really, like 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 Billy said one day, what's your track record? What's your track record?
Mm-hmm. And that
Right?
speaks
Like,
for itself.
don't talk
Mm-hmm,
about somebody else if you have nothing to compare it to.
mm-hmm.
But I'm sorry.
Right. And
Let's bring them on.
no,
I'm
no.
going to
And
shut
then
up
you know what? You
now.
bring up a great point. You bring up a great point because no one's perfect. And you know what? What people try to do, and if it fails or doesn't work or it works the opposite way, these people aren't running from, these. And I'm not saying that happened with any of their situations, but they're running headfirst into these things. They're running through the halls of Washington saying, hey, everybody, we got to do something. We got to make a change, instead of sitting there running their mouths about other people in the movement. And that's what needs to be done. Not worrying about what everybody else is doing, worry about what they're doing, and everybody pay attention to what they're doing because it's the right thing. So let's bring them out.
In the rolling hills of Tennessee, not so long ago, a firebrand lawyer rose to fight a shadow we now know.
Yes. All right.
Protective services loomed like
This is the song I made for Connie.
through the land.
Yeah.
Snatching children from their homes with a cold and heavy hand.
Yep.
But
That's
Connie
it.
regularly stood tall, with the law held in her sights, a fearless guardian of the home, defender of the light.
Yep.
Hey, Connie regularly saving the family. Shout her name from
Oh, I'm turning you down, Connie. Sorry. Not the song. There we go. All right. Perfect. All right, guys. How are we all doing? I know that we're short, Terry,
Hey,
but call in.
hey,
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 guys.
did you send me that song? Because I want it.
Yes, no, I didn't. Did I? I will do that. I will make sure. Let me put it on my list here. I will make sure that I send you that one. For sure. So
Okay,
what's
so are
up,
we,
ladies?
yeah, so we ready to have a nice little chat here? Because I want to get right down to business. Are we ready?
Yeah. Hey, if you guys are ready, then we can do this.
Okay, so I was listening to your intro. I'm not sure. It sounded like something really horrible is going on out there about me from what you said. And I'm like, I don't even know what they're talking about. I want to spend a few minutes here because with all the work I do and everything with Family Forward on the live streams I do, the cases I've talked about, I very, very rarely talk about myself. I very rarely, and I do have a resume out there. It's hard to find. And I really want to go back and do that because I think we're at the place that I really want people to understand this. I went back to law school. I went back to college and law school when I was 38 years old. Okay. My family had had a restaurant business. I'd been successful and I went back to law school. I really thought I'd be a small business lawyer. My family had small business immediately. And I'm telling you, the path of God takes you where you sometimes don't want to travel, but you see that's where you're going to end up. And so you just grab onto it. And I was a prosecutor. I prosecuted crimes against children. My very first jury trial was a baby murder. And this was in 1994, 5, 6, 7. And then I went into private practice. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say this because I actually put it out there one time. There's a picture of me with Bill Clinton, and it's like 1996. Okay, so here's the story. I just want everybody to know what it is. So I had a friend. I'm a Republican. I had a friend who was a Democrat, and we were good friends. We just hung out together sometime. He had paid $1,000 for tickets to go to the Clinton Gore re-election opening that they had in Nashville. And he said, "Do you want to go?" I said, "Sure, I'll go." I mean, I just I was just getting into politics, just kind of finding my way around the field. And we went, and with $1,000 tickets, you got a photo op. And so, we had this photo op. So I have put that out there. And I know some people have like, "Oh, look, she was involved in ASFA." Like, no, I had nothing to do with ASFA. However, I practiced law. I started in 94. I went into private practice 97, 98, and was a perfectly fine attorney until I started making noise about how corrupt the system was. And so from 1994 all the way up to 2010, 15 years, never any complaints on me, never any disciplinary actions, never any crazy contempt cases until I started talking about the juvenile system and CPS. And I knew the problems existed as soon as I had a CPS case. So I started tracking all the problems in the system. Now, again, we're talking way back in the dark ages, you guys. We didn't have cell phone. I mean, I had a pager. Okay, I had a pager, and then we got the pager that they could actually send you a little message on, right? And before I ever had a cell phone, so we didn't have computers at our desk in the DA's office until the year I left, et cetera. So I just slowly, but immediately I was like already in the newspaper while I was a DA because I called out a judge. So I have been poking the bear since I got out of law school. Okay. And I tried to dodge the bullet of the retaliation, but ultimately they just decided they had to get rid of me. So it took them 16 years, okay, 16 years, 3 fake felonies, 4 or 5 different disciplinary actions before they could finally write a 98-page opinion from the Tennessee Supreme Court that talks about basically, it's really about how I hurt the feelings of the judiciary, only they recouched it. They changed the facts just like they do in CPS cases. They changed all the facts to make it look like there were conflicts of interest. They were ignoring court orders. They don't talk about the facts that judges are doing secret court orders. They're sneaking off into different counties. They're forum shopping. So, and I could get into a lot more details. I have been to the Court of Appeals, probably more in the 30 years that I practice. I probably have more appellate opinions than any individual attorney. I have 2 Sixth Circuit very, very valuable cases establishing the civil rights for parents and children, multiple civil rights cases I took just trying to develop the law. I've been in multiple forums, spoken, et cetera, gotten bills passed at the state level, and really put together the Million Parent March. And I know Charlene can probably remember that too. That's probably the first time we ever came across each other's path, like in 2014 or something, 2015. And that's when I developed the platform of the Family Forward Project. Still while I was practicing, still while I had lots of things on my plate. But that's when I really said, look, I need to, because I could already see the pattern. And so many things like, there's Terry. So we might want to let her speak a minute. But I did so many things, challenging the laws, challenging the constitutionality. And then the General Assembly would write some other law to cover themselves and give them more power. So, I don't even know what the smack is out there right now. I have so much work to do, and I work with so many parents, and I'm working on new projects all the time. But if you go to Lexis or Westlaw and you type in Connie regularly, you're going to get like 85 cases. So, and some of them are my own challenges, like us having videos in the courtroom, etc. But most of them are representing and defending parents' rights. And I know Terry's got a busy night. So if y'all want to let her pop in and chat for a minute, that'll be fine. Oh, you're muted.
Let's let Terry go, because she's on she's in nice sunny Sunset, Florida, right? Is that where I'm up here in Maine, where it's rainy and cold already? It's I think summer's over with. So let's hear what you got to say, Terry. Yeah, that looks nice. It looks real nice, but she also looks maybe frozen.
Oh, wait. Hang on. There she goes.
She's coming. We'll take it. Here she comes.
You lost her already. Okay. if she's
gone now.
If she pops back in, let's let Rachel and maybe Shar go ahead and start. Oh, there she is.
There we
go.
Ahead,
Terry. Okay. Hey, how are you? Okay, sorry about that. Can you hear me? Okay, good. So we're talking about the Advocates for Families Act, that bill, and I think it's a great bill. Now, is it going to fix every problem that we have with foster care and the Child Protective Services? Of course not. But it is a very important step in the right direction. And it is something that the families that I talk to, and I've talked to from all over the country, would have told me that if they had had an advocate who was allowed to go to court with them and to be a part of their case, then that would have made all the difference in the world. And so we're not asking for a magic bullet. I mean, it's not a magic bullet, but it will help. Go ahead. Sorry.
What is all right? So I mean, we went right into it here after Connie. So it's HR 5647. It's called the Advocates for Families Act of 2025. It's backed up by Representative Barry Moore, right? He did that on September 30th, 2025, right? So this thing is real. It's legit. This isn't just somebody talking about
absolutely.
it. This thing's got teeth, and it's moving forward. And all of you guys had a piece of it, right?
Yeah.
Right. And that was actually the second time it was introduced. It was introduced in 2023 as well, but it was right before the election. So it didn't make a lot of movement then, but there's a lot of people that have been involved in this. A ton of people have gone to Washington, D.C. and talked to legislators and have been working on this for quite some time. And
and Terry, we actually just got started, and I was just telling them a little bit about my background.
Representative Barry Moore of Alabama, his office said that they wanted to take the lead on it. So they're very supportive. They understand the problems that exist.
Yeah. Hey, Terry, can you hear me? No, I guess she can't hear.
No, or there's a delay. We'll see.
Yeah, I think there's a delay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Can you hear me, Terry?
All right.
Can you hear me, Terry? She acts like she can't hear me. Can you hear me, Terry? No. Okay. So ask her.
No, I just saw some things recently saying that this bill is not legitimate, and that's crazy. It's one that's a citizen initiated bill that a group of citizens, families got together, and the people that you have on your show were definitely involved. All the people in here have been involved since the beginning, and we've been fighting on a lot of different fronts. And when we settled on this bill, it's like, okay, well, this is one thing that it's not going to turn the Titanic around, but it can nudge the problem to where families have some support, and they know they can hear from other people. They can have somebody there that can be on their court, on their side. And so
Terry,
yeah.
Terry, can you give everybody a little bit about your background?
Absolutely.
And then how you came about, and how this helps everything, how you've helped everything with what you've done?
Sure. So I became an investigative journalist. I was an investigative journalist, and I just saw some stories about Child Protective Services medically kidnapping a couple of kids. And I got involved with a website called medicalkidnap.com and quickly became their lead investigative journalist, covering hundreds and hundreds of cases over a 4-year period from all over the country. And so I had no idea. I mean, when I came at this, I just had seen a couple stories that were concerning that I wanted to find out what's going on. And so I started going down the rabbit hole, and I would hear these crazy things, and then there would be the documentation. I would see the medical reports. And so medical kidnapping, let me just say what that is when Child Protective Services takes a child from a family, from an innocent family, for a medical kind of disagreement. And there's all kinds of different ways that looks, but it's happening all over America. Rachel Bruno's case is a classic example. That's how I met Connie regularly, because she was the attorney on a story that I was reporting, and so I just got involved, just trying to find out the truth, trying to dig at what's going on, and going deeper and deeper and deeper. And then I started going to Washington, D.C. with Family Forward Project, and moms and dads and parents, grandparents that were just involved in trying to make a difference. And it's amazing, because, when we first got started, it was just kind of like, we would just say, this is a problem, help, please fix this. And then we started realizing, let's find some concrete things that we can put into legislation that will make a difference. And so that's what we did. That's what we honed in on, and we had focused in on the Advocates for Families Act. And when we've gone to Washington, D.C., we've talked to both sides of the aisle, Republicans and Democrats alike, and the response that we would hear is, this is really a no-brainer. This is something that just really is not even a difficult thing. It's like, we don't have that. Why don't we have that? And we should allow this. We're not asking for the moon. We're just asking for an advocate to be there for the families, like you have for a veteran. Right. Veterans have advocates. All kinds of different fields have advocates. And it's just somebody who's been there, who kind of knows what's going on. Many times it's the best advocates are those who have been through the system. I found the best researchers are the parents who have gone through the situation. They've learned the laws, they've learned the players, they've learned what works, what doesn't work. They've learned how the system works, and they can really be there for people and help them understand what it is that they're facing. Because let's face it, many times parents face this whole situation, they have no clue what they're in for. They just know all of a sudden somebody's taking my child away. They're saying all these things that aren't even true about me, and what do I do? They just want their kid back. They just want their family restored. There's a misconception around the country in the public eye that Child Protective Services and foster care is about protecting children from horrible, abusive parents. And that is honestly, that's what I thought until I started digging and doing the research. And I found that nothing could be further from the truth. That the vast majority of the children in the system should not be there. And many of them have family members that could take care of them in the meanwhile, and that's not being done either. But what I see on your show, on my screen in front of me, is some incredible advocates who have done amazing work advocating for families. They don't ask for anything really in return. They are just trying to make a difference and trying to help as many people as they can. And it really takes all of us. because this is a massive problem. I'm on the beach, but I'm here with some other advocates. That's what they do. They're
nice.
advocating for families and fighting against trafficking.
You're having an advocation.
An advocation. There you go. Yep. Yep.
That's great. Cool. Thanks, Terry, for that. So might as well go up to you. Rachel, you're with Fractured Hope. That's the Mother's Fight for Justice. That's your story. And then Terry, obviously, you know, like she was just saying with you, I mean, how did you fit into this group? Where did you come in and start meshing in and making a difference with them?
Yeah, so my case happened in 2015 in California, where both my babies, 7 weeks old and 20 months old, were seized by Child Protective Services because my 7-week-old baby was injured in the care of his nanny. Now, she didn't tell me. I just woke up to a screaming baby, and she showed me an empty bottle, and she said, "We just fed him. I just fed him. He's really gassy." And I'm like, okay, 7-week-old baby gets gassy, fair enough. So I told her to go home and I would take it from there because my baby was screaming. I mean, that kid was not settling down. And long story short, 6 hours from that point, no eating, no napping. I mean, I could not make this kid stop crying. I called the pediatrician. I'm like, I need to see somebody. And they're like, we don't have any availability. I'm like, he's been screaming since 4 o'clock in the morning. I need to see somebody. And the receptionist said, okay, take him to the emergency room. So I hop in the car, emergency room with my 7-week-old, my 20-month-old, and my mom. We get to the hospital. We see the doctor right away. And I get the diagnosis that my 7-week-old baby has a cranial fracture and an intracerebral blood hemorrhage, and that he was going to need emergency surgery right there. Doctors are giving me the liabilities. Are you against blood transfusions? Like, I don't care what you have to do to save my baby, save my baby. So, I mean, my mind, you know, is spinning. The surgery took about 4 hours. Neurosurgeon comes back, says, you know, he's stable. I'm like, is he okay? Is he going to be brain damaged? Like, what happened? And he tells me, we don't know whether he's going to survive the next 48 hours. Hey, he's in a medically induced coma right now. He received 3 bags of blood during the surgery. He was having 15 seizures an hour. So, but he's stable. I will take you to the PICU. So again, I'm just getting all this information, right? I'm trying to hold it together, keep myself together. My 20-month-old baby's there. My husband was out of state on a business trip in an airplane. So I'm by myself. I go see my baby, you know, seemingly lifeless at that hospital, had tubes coming out of every orifice you can imagine, the machine's beeping. And I just say a prayer. I'm like, Lord, I don't care if I have to dedicate the rest of my life to take care of my baby, I will. Just don't take him away from me. And I had peace at that moment. Then I went into logistics mode, right? My baby is here. My mom is here. Obviously not leaving the hospital. My son, I give him a goodnight kiss. He goes to sleep at grandma's house. I texting my husband. I'm saying, you know, what's going on? And he comes straight from the airport to the hospital. But while we're waiting for that, I hear a knock on the glass door, like the one behind me. And it's a man in a uniform and a woman with a clipboard. And he says, Miss Bruno, can we speak to you? And I said, yes. And he says, what happened to your son was worse than getting struck in the head by a bullet. And I'm like, okay, what does that mean? And he says, we want to help you. Will you help us figure out how this happened to your son? So in my mind, you know, bullet to the head. Are you accusing the nanny of having tried to kill my baby? Like, what would a bullet to the head do?
Right.
Right. And in my head, I'm thinking, of course, it's the nanny. They know it's the nanny. They're asking me for help. Little did I know I was prime suspect number 1. Right. And that they are writing a criminal report against me while they're interviewing me without informing me of any of my rights, without informing me that this is a child abuse investigation, without informing me of anything. That very night, they showed up at my mom's house at 2 o'clock in the morning, and they seized my 20-month-old son. Okay, woke him up. My mom, you know, didn't know what the heck to do. They said, we're taking him. If you don't give him to us, you're going to get arrested. And there are 3 police cars, 3 officers standing right there. Nobody says anything. And my mom says, okay, if I go to jail, do I take him with me? And The social worker says no, he's going to go to foster care. And you're not going to be able to care for him because you're going to have a criminal record. So my mom didn't know what to do at that point. I was asleep in the hospital. She gives my 20-month-old son to the social worker, and they drive off in the middle of the night, not telling us where, what, who, what the hell is going on. I wake up that morning. My husband has this blank stare on his face. My first instinct is to look at the baby. He's there. He's alive. And I ask him what happened. And he tells me they took David. And David is my 20-month-old. And I'm like, what do you mean they took David? Where? Who? They lied to me. And he said, yeah, that's not what happened. So I start calling lawyers. I had to call about 10 different lawyers until I found one that would take CPS cases. Every family law attorney I called, nope, we don't deal with CPS, call so-and-so. Nope, don't deal with CPS, call so-and-so. Finally got the guy, and he told me, come to my office. I get in there, I'm like, where is my son and where do I go get him? He tells me, sit down. You have no idea what you're in for. And I'm like, what are you talking about? They can't just come in here and take my kid. And he's like, yeah, they can. And I'm like, what happened to our Constitution? What happened to innocent until proven guilty? What about the nanny? What the heck is this? And he's like, what happened to your son is criminal. Okay, you are facing 15 years in jail and $100,000 bail if they decide to charge you.
Oh my God.
If I go into that courtroom and I ask the judge to give those kids back to you, they're going to pull this up. He already had the criminal investigation in his hands. And they're going to say, Your Honor, this woman is under criminal investigation. You are placing the children at risk by giving them back to her. And if that happens, your children are under 2 years old, nonverbal. They can be legally adopted by the family, by the foster family, if the case lasts longer than 6 months. And they will make it last longer than 6 months.
Jesus.
So I am just like, what is this? What country is this? Like Gestapo, Germany? What is this?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, your saving grace is that your husband was out of state when this happened. So legally speaking, he wasn't at the crime scene. Mm-hmm. We are going to ask the judge to give sole custody to your husband. And that way we don't even risk the children going into foster care. But if the judge grants that, they're going to kick you out of the house. So at that point, I'm like, what choice do I have? Right? Go into this courtroom and potentially lose my children forever to strangers. Or, play the game is basically what I had to do, was play their game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, do whatever you want to me, but leave my children alone. And at that 72-hour hearing, that's exactly what happened. I never got to say one word in that court. I was waiting for the judge, to ask me what happened. The nanny wasn't there. The detectives weren't there. The social workers weren't there. Nobody was there but me. Mm-hmm. And when I hear my name is Bruno, do you have any objections? I look at my lawyer. He's like, do you have any objections to the children being placed with their father? I said, no. Mr. Bruno, do you have any objections? He says, no. The judge looks at me. Okay, you have 24 hours to vacate your home. You are court ordered to take child abuse classes, parenting classes, individual counseling, and a caseworker will be calling you regarding visitation. Court is adjourned. So within 15 minutes, they took everything away from me. And this lasted for about 6 months. I had 7 hours a week of monitored visitation with both my babies. They never went after the nanny. I had to get a private investigator to see if we could find anything. We were preparing for trial. I found out that she was married to a police officer. I found out that his brother was also a police officer in a neighboring county. And I was told by my private investigator that they weren't going to go after her. I took polygraphs, I took psychiatric evaluations, I jumped through all the hoops possible until they finally decided to close the case. To this day, I don't know why, because I was never allowed to speak in there. I was never allowed to go in there. I mean, my lawyer was the one going in and out. Mm-hmm. Thank God I could afford a lawyer. By the time this was all said and done, my husband and I were about $250,000 in debt. Okay, with the medical bills, with the services, with the lawyers, we lost our business. I mean, we lost everything. We were living off of credit cards at that point. And once the case was closed, I just had to fire up my butt. I'm like, I can't, I didn't witness all this to not do anything about it, right? And when I was in that child abuse class, I saw everybody in there. There was about 30 of us in there. Nobody had intentionally abused their child. There were playground accidents, there were bathtub slippages, there were disgruntled exes. I mean, a million problems, child abuse not being one of them. And I started researching. I called a civil rights attorney. His name is Sean McMillan. He's based in California, and this is all he does is sue CPS. I presented my case to him. He took on my case. We sued them in federal court. We sued LA County, Orange County, the Children's Hospital, the Sheriff's Department, Social Services, and all the individuals associated with those agencies. We got discovery, we got the depositions, and we settled in December of 2018 for $1.49 million. So that is the gist
Good for you.
of everything. Like I said, I wrote the book. You know, there's the good, the bad, and the ugly in here. A lot more details in here.
Can I ask you a question? How is your son doing today?
He is absolutely perfect. By the grace of God, he is perfect. Yes.
Good.
Going into 6th grade and 8th grade. So when I started the civil suit in 2015, 2016 is when I reached out to Connie on Facebook. I saw her posting all the stuff on Facebook. And again, I joined the Family Forward Project, and I'm like, there's thousands of cases happening. I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is not a one-off thing. This is not, I had one bad apple in my case. I'm like, no, this is crazy. Right. And we're like, why?
Right.
Why?
The whole thing failed you. Right.
Right. And then we're like, follow the money. Always. When things don't make sense, follow the money. And it took me back. My case, when my son was seized at 2:00 in the morning, they took him to a county children's shelter where he stayed for 48 hours, no contact with anybody from the family. They eventually released him to my mom again. They seized him from my mom, and then they released him to my mom because she was a public school teacher. She was a mandated reporter. She was already fingerprinted. And before we even had a hearing, they asked my mom if she would adopt my 2 kids.
Jesus.
And my mom is like, no, we give them back to their mom to whom they belong. And the social worker says, well, we don't know what the judge is going to order. If the judge orders the removal of the children, will you adopt them? And my mom's like, okay, what happens if I don't? Is they're going to go to foster care. So my mom signs the adoption papers before any hearing, and she gets handed 2 checks, $680 each. You'll be receiving 680 checks a month per child. They qualify for WIC, they qualify for food stamps, they qualify for Medicaid, they have this. My mom's like, I don't want your money. And the social worker says, well, this is how we help the families. And my mom's like, can I save it for the lawyers?
Yeah.
And the social worker, like, I'll pretend I didn't hear that. So, I mean, it's just this money making scheme, right? And I knew I had to do something about it. So I got in touch with Connie. We started sharing stories, started brainstorming. After I settled my civil case, I was in California. I ended up moving to Tennessee, of all places, 10 minutes away from Connie.
Yeah.
That first DC trip, I think, that I went on was in 2021 or 2022, I'm not sure. And at that point, it was for the reauthorization of CAPTA, right? CAPTA was up for reauthorization. We're like, this is our chance, right? To get in there, to rewrite this, to talk about the funding, to do everything that we want to do. Like, we had this big dream, that everybody was going to jump on boat with us and rewrite this law. And after about a year of counting those hallways, we're like, not getting anywhere, right? Nobody wants to touch this because it's a monster and it's billions of dollars that go into the system. Nobody wants to touch it. So Connie and I started brainstorming. I'm like, what's the simplest thing? Like, what's the one thing that we can do? Right? Like, you and I, we do this, but again, like, they won't let us into the courtrooms. Like in California, I went to one of my friends' cases, one of the friends that I met in the child abuse case, and I got kicked out of the courtroom. Right? And I later learned through Miss Connie that it's because of this federal law in CAPTA that, says to protect the minor's privacy. And, we know what they're really protecting. But we're like, if we could get something federal that would let us just have access to the courtroom so that we could go in there with the parents, have access to the documents, have access to the files, have access to things that we can dissect all this stuff and help the parents, that would be amazing. Right? And again, go back to my case. If I had somebody at that hospital that night, right, when those police officers knocked on my door, if I had somebody there telling me, you don't have to speak to this police officer, You don't have to speak to the social worker. This is a child abuse investigation. Go get a lawyer, right? Or don't sign anything. Don't talk to the child abuse pediatrician. I mean, there's so many things that I could have done to have avoided all the trauma that they caused to my children and to my family.
Hey, so Rachel, I want to do a little flashback Thursday here. My memory serves me correct. You and I met in the parking lot of the Williamson County. Didn't we meet down in that parking lot of the Williamson County
meeting, right?
The school board meeting?
Right.
And we couldn't get in because it was full. And Robbie Starbuck was out there in the parking lot. And I don't know. I think I like chatted with him and you said something to me. We literally met in the parking lot.
Right. Yeah. And then we went to DC and I'm like, I'm sleeping with all these strangers and sharing a house with these people I've never met in my life. And we're going.
Yes. Sharing beds with girls.
Here's what about, well, hold on right here. I want to show you guys. Here's the book right here. You can get it on Amazon. This is it right here, right? Right there. That's it. That's her book. The link's right here in the chat, guys. So if you want to grab that, that's it. There's her book. That's that. So
you should pull
make
up
sure you
Terry's.
check out and support her.
Pull up Terry's book too. It's
sure.
Voices That Will Not Be Silenced by Terry LaPointe.
Voices That Will Not Be Silenced. All right. While I'm looking for that, all right, Miss Shar, how about you and the Angel Advocacy Association? How did you guys get involved in this?
Well,
not only is she.
How many years, Connie? I'm going to go all the way back to, I guess, when Facebook came out. Before that, we were out on AOL. Y'all remember that? AOL, right?
Yeah.
There was a Blue Soldiers group
the
out
CD
there.
in the book. Yeah.
We were over on MySpace too, and we're the OGs out here now. So we were doing some advocacy through like different groups, through AOL, and then Facebook opened up, and then it opened up with the live. Once that started is when all the voices started coming out, which there were back then, I'm going to say about a good 10 that started popping out everywhere. I happened to be one of them. Connie was one of them back then. And we started putting different podcasts together and different things and awareness. And then we had people that were actually, Brian Kittner, trying to get his son at the courthouse, was sitting out there in his chair. He was actually protesting. We had another one, Randy Davis. He was out there trying to get his daughter. So there's a lot of people that were out here at that point in time that were screaming, educating everyone too. Connie came out, started educating people. We had other people that were out here that were trying to educate with law and different techniques and tactics. I'm on the opposite side of this. I was a foster and adoptive parent, only for people that I knew in my family. But I saw the problems and the struggles they were going through during the way. And that would be that, let me give a little example. I had one case where we had people that were fighting over a parking spot. And mom had 6 kids. She was working 2 jobs, trying to take care of her family. And we got they got in a fight with the neighbor. And the neighbor decided, enough of this. I'm calling CPS on you, lady. So within that, the CPS came out, and here's what we were dealing with at that point in time. There was dirty dishes. There were clothes that were dirty. There were toys all over the floor, but there was food in the refrigerator. So to me, that showed they had clothes to wear to be dirty. They had dishes dirty, so somebody cooked for them to eat. There was food in the refrigerator, and they cared enough to buy them toys. Okay, where's the problem? So if mom needed help just cleaning up her house, then why didn't we just have a service to just go in and help mom that was working 2 jobs to clean up her house, opposed to taking 6 kids because of that? Obviously, she needed help. And there are church groups that do that, or different volunteer groups and stuff like that. But that kind of, to me, was an eye-opener of what they can do just from something like that. We all didn't grow up perfect. I grew up a lot of brothers and sisters, a lot of brothers, I should say. Our house wasn't clean all the time. We always had food. We always had clothes, roof over our head. And I just feel that I call it set up the fail system. They set these parents up to fail, and it's enough of that. We have to all stand together out here. This bill, I will say, is it's a start. It's just a start for us to hopefully get our foot in the door so that we can express ourselves more up in the higher levels, to point these kind of things out on prevention and reunification, money that has to be put into the system as not as an opt-in. We need that to be mandatory. Not that you can opt in on that part of this pie, of this little bit of money that they're putting in that part of it, right? So there are a lot of things that still need to be changed or still need to be reformed. And we've been here a very long time, punching through every loophole that we could possibly find, and bring that out to people too, that, listen, we found this out. We want you to see it. So we all join together. So behind Family Forward Project, I don't think people realize that if you are attacking or going after one of us, including Connie regularly, you're coming after 70,000 of us. Okay? We are 70,000 strong for a reason. And that is because something must be working. Let me say that again. Something must be working. Okay? No matter what it may be. There's always a little bit of something for everyone in there. Connie, I don't even know how many years Family Forward's been up. I know I've been behind it now since, I think, 2015. So that's 11 years. Okay.
I have to comment on something, because what did you just say? You said the system sets parents up to fail.
Absolutely.
I was featured in an article, and the very first article of the newspaper article says it's all a setup to make you fail. Parents struggling to keep their kids. The article's right there. She took my words, and that was the first thing of the article. So you're absolutely right. That was the very first thing that I told this reporter.
Yeah.
And it's true.
Well, and not only that, if you look at how they set up the new bill through the foster bill through Melania, what they did was, on that foster bill, is the preventive services are there, the reunification services are there, and the foster is in the center. On the preventive, the money is like maybe 1/8. Foster services in the center is like 80%. Reunification on the outside of it may be 10%. The pie is not correct. It should be 33, cares about the other 1%, figure out what to do with it. Okay. And it shouldn't be an opt-in in each state. That should be mandatory. So here's the thing. If they opt out of that service, meaning prevention, or that service of reunification money, right? But they opt in on foster, I make a phone call and I say, I need help. I need your services. And then I'm thinking you're coming out to me with this form that I can fill out because I might need food, or I might need a bus token or something, right? Or some help with my rent. And you think that that's what they're there for. No, if they did not opt in, and therefore there is no form to give you, there is nothing to fill out, how they will help you is they'll take your child into that foster care. Okay, there's your help. So just be careful of what you're asking for, because if your state did not sign in for those forms, there is nothing there for you.
Guys,
Right?
let's go.
So,
let's take a 2-minute break here, guys, and then let's come back and let's start really breaking into what you guys got going on. Sound good?
Perfect.
All right, let's do that. We'll be right back, guys.
For 25 years and more, she rocked that courthouse floor, defending mothers' sacred rights above the system's roar. A warrior in the battle, she challenged every claim. Immunity for tyrants, she called it by its name. They tried to break her spirit, but Connie would not bend. Connie, regulate. The families would chant again. Now oral arguments are rising, echo loud and clear. She's forging new protections, so no child lives in fear. From 90s fights to modern days, she never walks away. She circles back the broken hearts and lights a brighter way. One brave voice against the dragon, cutting through the lies. Connie, regulate the victory battle cry. In this American fable, the message rings out true. One soul with steady courage can stand for me and you. When families face the tempest, when justice feels too far, just chant for Connie regularly. She is our guiding star. Hey, Connie regularly, saving the family. Shout her name from every town, from mountain down to sea. Clap your hands and stomp your feet. Let the story be told. She's the heartbeat of this fable, turning darkness into gold. So chant her name.
Tonight on Tiff and the Punisher, Connie Reguli and her crew are live in the building. Years in the trenches, exposing CPS corruption, fighting for parents, refusing to let the system bury families. We break down the overreaches, the money trail, and the constitutional weapons you need right now. No soft talk, no apologies, just the truth and the fight. Tonight, 7:45 Eastern, YouTube, abolishcps.x, live. Do not miss it. Share it. Be there. Tiff and the Punisher. Your family is not for sale.
All right, we're back. We are back here somewhere when I find us. Here we are. What's up, everybody? We're back here. Just take a little break there. We're here with Connie and her crew, and we're talking about their bill that they're doing. Why don't we just start? First of all, well, let's say this. Let's say that bill is real. It's really in Washington, and people are really looking at it and really trying to pass the thing. So we just validated that whole argument. So we can push that one off. where do
Yeah,
we
and
begin? So,
actually, well, and
yeah,
if you would go to congress.gov and pull up HR 5647, if you
sure.
can find that, that'll give people a little bit of a idea of where they can go, and they can pull the bill, they can share it, and we're going to talk about what we want people to do to help us. I'm going to talk. I know I talked a little bit about my history and advocacy. I do want to touch
Mhm.
on two more things that I do. So I do ongoing advocacy, and I'm going to, without giving names, I'm going to describe a couple things that we have done that have worked. And also I'm in the place where I'm trying desperately to educate state lawmakers, because I'm going to tell you the absolute truth that state lawmakers do not understand this system. Okay. They just think, oh, those poor abused children, we have to write a bigger check. Okay. That's what they think.
Mhm.
So some of the things that I have done, which I always want to find source documents and get real numbers. So one of the things I did this year, and I know you won't be able to read it very well, but what I have right here, this multi-page document, is called a tags report. And this is from HHS, and it's interactive. Anybody can go do it if they want to. But I went to the tags report and I searched for Tennessee Department of Children's Services. This is every dollar that has been shipped to the state of Tennessee since 1996. Okay. So once you get it and you go through it, it is all coded. But if you understand the system, you can kind of understand what those codes are. But I characterize the funds that were sent as either adoption money, foster care money, guardianship money, prevention money, or incentive money, which the incentive money, I know most of the people probably watching this understand what it is, but the incentive money is the bonus check that goes to the state agency when they adopt a child out to strangers. So here are real numbers. Now, this is just the state of Tennessee. You can multiply it times 50. And it is increasingly growing. So it's getting bigger and bigger. Plus the state budgets are getting bigger. So there's more money at the state level. But here's the information that I got. And I'm going to hold this up close. I don't know if you'll be able to read it. Okay. Do you see these numbers right here? Oh, you can kind of see it. Okay. So those are adoption, foster, and guardianship. So adoption was 178,081,580. Okay. Foster was 1,219,000,000. So you can see already that the adoption money, y'all, listen closely, has outclimbed the foster care money. The adoption money has outclimbed the foster care money. That's because you put a child in foster care and then adoption at 6 years old. You may have him in foster care for 2 years, but you get the adoption check for the next 10 years. So, and your state legislators, y'all out there, listen to me. They have no clue. They do not understand adoption incentives. They do not understand adoption per diems. And I need, as a Family Forward Project is taking this next step forward, we need state level advocacy so you can learn to talk the talk and walk the walk and be able to go to your state legislators and do something similar. Another thing that I wanted to do is I found out that the form that is sent from the state to the federal government is called a CB 496 form. And so I decided I wanted to do an open records request to be able to get those forms, because I wanted to see for myself what was the state asking for. And I wanted to also get the reports on the missing children, the children who were harmed or died in DCS custody, the capital investments that they had made basically for locking kids up, and some budgets reports and license agreements for non-traditional homes. Okay, so I sent a letter. I sent a public records request, okay? This is a letter I got back from DCS, and here's what they said. The department estimates that it will take 57 hours of staff time at a cost of $3,999.82 to respond to your request. Okay, so you can go look at records and they can't charge you. So I went to look at the records. They mixed them all up. They made it very difficult for me. So what I have been able to do, I have been able to talk to state legislators who will do those requests, and they cannot charge a state legislator. So I had a state legislator ask for those CB 496 forms for 8 years, 2018 to present, and we got this notebook full of CB 496 forms. And so from that CB 496 form, I was then able to create some spreadsheets. I don't know if I have those here. Oh, I do. Hang on. I want to show you, because I spent this time, and guys, look, this is work. Okay, there is a lot of work that's involved in this, because I took all of those spreadsheets and I put them into Excel sheets that look like this. Okay, so that these Excel sheets could be analyzed with, and I sent these with an executive summary to all the members of the General Assembly. And here's just a couple of interesting things that I found for Tennessee DCS. Now I'm telling you, oops. Oh, there you go. Thank you. The trends are the same all over the country. So if it's happening in Tennessee, it's happening in your state as well. And here's one of the key things that I found. There was a specific entry for provider and agency management. What that meant was, instead of managing their own foster and case management, they started farming it out, contracting it out to private providers who may call themselves a nonprofit, but they're not nonprofits. One of our nonprofits in Tennessee, called Youth Villages, is paying the CEO $1.5 million a year off the backs of our children. So this showed that in 2021, that cost for managing third-party foster care companies was $1.5 million, and it has gone up to $2.5 million. So everything about the system is broken, everything. And we have to educate the people who are responsible for signing those checks, approving the budgets, putting the commissioners in place, studying the audits that are going on with these agencies. And that is a very proactive thing. Okay, so let's keep that pocket in mind. And now the other side is advocacy. And I want people to understand that, because the Family Forward Project's ongoing advocacy includes a system-wide advocacy. Okay, so system-wide advocacy means to look at the system, not just one case at a time. As I practiced law for 30 years, I finally got to the point where I would say, I can't change this system one case at a time. And as advocates, no matter how good we are, we're not going to change the system one case at a time. Now, what we want to do, what we hope to do, is every family that we help, we want them to become an advocate at some level. Okay. They can be a personal advocate. They can be a system advocate. They can just want to work with the legislature. They can pick a specific issue. You know, Terry's issue is the medical kidnapping. And, you know, she's worked with legislators. And of course, she helped with the advocate bill as well. But people may have one specific issue they want to work on, which is fine. We just want everybody to go to work. And so, you know, some people feel overwhelmed. They feel like they're not capable, but there is something they can do. If we want to change this, every day when you get up, there has to be one thing that you can do. So at the advocacy level right now, just for an example, I'll give you a couple of hands-on examples. We have a mama in East Tennessee, and she has had a lot of babies. She had, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 babies. I don't even know how many, but she had everything was fine and dandy until one of her older children, he got in trouble. He got in trouble for something, and it had to do with his behavior, his conduct with other children. And he was wrong with some of the things he did, but he wasn't a axe murderer. Okay. I mean, he just had some antics that he pulled that were inappropriate. And they came and they took all her children. They took them all, and all the way down to like a 4-year-old. And the way they handled and treated these children is outrageous. And we're still fighting to get some of those back. But and we got some of the old, they actually didn't want the older ones. They gave the older ones back and kept the younger ones. Of course, we know why. But in the meantime, she had another baby. And of course, they came and called on her again. Well, me and another advocate in Tennessee, we said, look, you're not going to meet with DCS without an advocate. And for one of the meetings, we got on the phone with her while she went and had her interview and, allowed her to ask some questions. But what happened during that interview, after they asked her specifically about the allegations, they started asking her questions like, so how do you discipline your children? What do you feed your children? And I said, whoa, 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 whoa. I said, we're here to talk about the allegations. These general questions are not necessary. None of the questions that you're asking have to do with specific harm or any allegations that there's immediate risk of harm. So she's answered the questions to the allegations. I think we're finished. I just told them that on the phone. And they're like, oh, okay. And they're like, well, we need to come to her home. So I was very lucky that one of my advocates here was able to go to her home when DCS came and was there, videotaped it, recorded it, whatever, and called me on the phone, during that process when they need to. We shut down that investigation quickly. Okay. We shut it down immediately. So that's an example. In Tennessee, when they have a child and family team meeting and administrative meeting, the parents are permitted to have a support person it doesn't have to be an attorney, but that support person, when I'm that support person, of course, I know the policies. And so if they go beyond, I make them sit down and tell me every person's name and the role that they're playing, because this is one of the simple things that parents don't think about when they have those meetings. They are so confused and they're so trying to figure out what's going on. And there may be 8 people from DCS in that meeting, even if it's on the phone or on a Zoom call, and they just spout out their names like that. Like they just go through it and I go, okay, wait a minute. Let's do this again. I'm writing this down. I want to know your name and I want to know your role and I want your email address. Okay. So I'm going to write this down. I'm going to convey this to the parent. And so she has access to that information. And oh, by the way, if she has a question about so-and-so, let's say, if she has a question about visitation or where the visitation will be or how it will be conducted, like, which one of you should she contact directly, right? I make them answer those questions so that there's no gaps in that. When they start talking about, oh, they need to do anger management class, they need to do a parenting class. My question to them is, when will you have that set up, right? Because if they take your kids, I'm going to be honest, my goal is to get your kid out of foster care. I want to get your kid out of being held hostage by the state. I'm not going to tell parents to thumb their nose and not do a stinking little, 6-hour parenting class or a little, even an A&D assessment. I do balk at the drug test now because these drug tests are fraudulent. These little urine tests that they're doing are giving false positives all the time. And we're getting false positives on meth, even on I don't even know how they're doing some of these tests, but we've even had false positives on hair follicle tests. So when we do, so that's advocacy, you guys. That's what advocacy is. And it's standing there and then after the meeting and then asking them, when are you going to send them a copy of this? And, when are you going to send this to the parents so that they can sit down and take a look at it? And these parenting plans, when you see them, they're screwy. they're this form. They have all this miscellaneous junk in it, right? And then talk to that parent and say, okay, let's go through it. Let's talk about what you need to do. Check, check, check. We're going to check those boxes as soon as we can. And here's how we're going to report it. And you're going to report it not only to the agency and to the person, you're going to report it to the court. And you're going to prepare a court report of your own that said, I was required to do this. I did this on such and such day, attached as a certificate, so that there's no question, because they want to put obstacles out there, and they freaking lie. They lie. Okay. So we as advocates want to close those gaps as to the lies that they can tell. And we want to make sure they have contact with their child. And, if it's visits, if it's phone calls, we want to make sure there is ongoing contact. So that's advocacy. And then, I'm going to say just a couple other things. I'll pass it back around. But 5647, when we put it together, and Rachel and I were brainstorming, like, what can we do? We, pushed out some ideas. We kept working with it. Once we kind of had our ideas in place, we had to turn over what we had to Barry Moore's office, who decided to take the lead on it. And then his office had to submit it to legal. Okay, they had to submit it to legal. So we did not write the final draft of the bill. And I want people to be extremely clear on that. We did not write the final draft. However, there were a couple things I asked for specifically, which they followed through with. Number one, I asked that it be under Title IV-B and not Title IV-E. So as I explained to Barry Moore's office, Title IV-E is centered on foster care. Title IV-B is focused on preservation and reunification. We don't want to be, and also, and Title IV-E and CAPTA are a little bit different, but CAPTA has expired. And so and it sort of encompasses the Title IV-E requirements. We didn't want to be tied into the foster care trap. So they did put it, and it basically says any state that takes Title IV-B money, every single state takes Title IV-B money, every single state. Every state takes Title IV-B money. It says, if you take our federal dollars under Title IV-B, you shall permit a family advocate to work with the family at all stages, the administrative, the pre-litigation, litigation, etc. You shall permit that they work with them at all stages. The family can reject it, but the family can pick it too. The legal department of Congress put in the clause that said the states have the right to create rules and regulations around family advocacy. Okay, so they do, right? Here's the problem. The federal government can tell the states, we're going to put strings on your money, but they have to permit the state to regulate the function of basically the agency. Okay, so the state has the authority to do that. Our goal, and we have already put that together, our goal is to draft those out ourselves. What does that look like? What are the requirements? What do we not want to happen here? And that's another reason why basically I'm using the disbarment as the next threshold, the next door to walk through to make a systemic change. You cannot do it as an attorney. And Rachel, I know, can attest to this. When I go in and I talk to members of Congress and I talk to these people in the offices, and I tell them, I says, you know what happens when you get a room full of lawyers? You know what every lawyer wants to do? They want to win. That's all. We don't care. That's what we're taught to do. We're taught to win. We're not taught to be compassionate and reunification. As a matter of fact, reunification would spoil our gig, right? Reunification spoils our gig. Ultimately, we want our clients to have their kids back. But, honestly, if they get their kids back in 3 days, I've lost, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. I mean, that's the reality of it. And so the legal system itself cannot make the necessary changes. So that is why we have the advocacy bill. We had it introduced it was actually 2024. And then it was too close to the 2024 election. We did not get it through. We got it reintroduced in 2025. And if people don't understand this, Congress works in 2-year cycles. If you don't get it passed in a 2-year cycle, you have to reintroduce it. So here we are. We have midterms. We have a big fight in Congress anyway. But I don't know. We can still make phone calls. We can still talk to them. We are also working on collaborating with other basic nonprofit people who are sort of working in the same field. Everybody's kind of working it a different way. But I think if we collaborate, because the problem we have is there are huge national organizations like the National Association of Social Workers who, again, they don't want us spoiling their gig, right? And if we are rehabilitating families in opposition to their goal to remove children and adopt them out, they're going to fight our bill, and they're going to say, we're not whatever they're going to say. They're going to try to kill it. So let me pass the floor now, pass the mic to somebody else, and y'all put your 2 cents in.
Honey, I want to say something coming off of what you were saying on your Tennessee case, and I'm going to show how unity kicks in with the advocates themselves. Connie had a family that she had gotten home, and then Rachel, you and I got in a chat, and we were someone had said that these children needed some things. So Rachel had set up her little giver of light, and we put together a list with the mom, and to make sure that the things that the mom put on the list that we put out for whoever could help us to help. And this is reunification, people. This is what we're talking about. Reunification money, right? When they bring these kids home, they're bringing them home with nothing. Okay? Some, I'm going to say some, okay? Because some foster parents think that the things that are bought for the children belong to the house in case they get another child. It goes to that next child, right? So and I've seen that happen plenty of times. So we want to make sure that people know that when CPS brings your kids home, they're still holding on to you for 60, 90 days, right? And they're waiting for you to slip up. They're waiting for you to need something from them, right? So, and I will say this, most of the people that I help get their children home, I make sure they don't need, okay? I hold the receipts. If CPS wants to tell me that family doesn't have that, send them to me, please, okay? Because we probably had an Amazon list somewhere that people from all over helped us out with. Most of it's from ourselves, and that we took care of that need. No need to be here anymore. But why should we have to do that? Where's the reunification check that the parents should get? When they take the children, the foster parents get emergency money for child needs. Now, mom and dad were stripped and taken down to nothing during all these processes. Most of them went bankrupt along the way. Where is the reunification check going through that door for whatever they may need? There isn't any, right?
Yeah. And I'll say this is another reason why we put it through Title 4B. So Title 4B is grant authorized money, and they reauthorized Title 4B on some very specific issues. But although I have some opportunities to raise some money, I'm probably going to work on. But once we have our established advocacy program, then we can apply for Title 4B grant money to be able to ask for some of those specific things. For instance, right now there is and what did they call it? Shar, I think you sent it to me, prevention acceleration funds or some grants.
Mm-hmm.
So they had a special grant. It was like $7.5 million for prevention acceleration. Now, unfortunately, and this is a hurdle we will have to overcome, those grants had to be filed through the state agency. So that is a big hurdle. We will have to overcome that, and we'll have to figure out how to do that. But
yeah, so my organization, Connie, does the before, the during, and the after. Right? We get referred like families that are on the brink of having CPS being called because the family doesn't have running water. Right? And the teacher at the school will come and confront the parent. The parent, we've paid water bills. We have installed air conditioning units. We have paid for registration for car. We have paid for gas cards, like stupid things, but will make all the difference for those families.
Rach, where did you get that money to do that? Can you explain how that money, what money are you using to do that? Did you get that from the government?
Nope, this is through my organization, my nonprofit. Right, it's called Giver of Light. It's a 501c3, and I have created what I call the Beloved Fund, which is basically $10 a month. I ask donors to give me $10 a month, and those $10 a month go into this pool of this fund. And whenever I have a family that has an immediate need, like an air conditioning unit, like a water bill paid, like a car being fixed, like a mom coming back with their kids and having no beds, having no sheets, having nothing. That is what that fund covers. And again, talking about cooperation, about different things. I mean, I had somebody call me live from the hospital in another state, not in Tennessee, in Colorado. And they're like, the police are here. They're threatening to take the kids. What do I do? Right? And I'm like, it's a real episode of Cops, right? And I'm like, you shut up, right? Don't say anything right now. Tell me what's going on. And then I call Connie. I'm like, okay, this is what's going on. What can they do? Connie says, do this. Okay, I call them back, do this. Then I call another organization that has lawyers in Colorado. Okay, can you help this? Can you do this? So it's all about the networking, the collaboration. No egos involved here. We don't care who gets the credit. We want the family.
That's right. That's the difference with this group, is that they all stick together. Well, we all do. Whatever one needs or whatever, if somebody's stressed out or something's going down, somebody else picks up the pieces and just carries it on. You'll see that everybody's networking in all different ways, but everybody's still supporting everybody. And that's the difference. That's why we say it's a family forward project, right? We're not out here, I, me. There is no such thing. There is none.
We're talking about, isn't that supposed to be what Title IV money is for when CPS comes? Aren't they supposed to pay for these things if they say that you don't have water, or if they want you to fix something? Aren't CPS supposed to take care of that themselves?
No, that's what I was just saying. I just explained that to you. They have to opt in for those forms and services.
No, but what I'm saying is Title IV is based on that. That's supposed to be the idea behind Title IV. That's what the money's supposed to be there for.
If the state opts in to do it, they have the option not to.
Well, so the Family First Preservation and Services Act passed in February 2018. First of all, got pushed back 4 years to October 2022 was the last year. So when they passed it in February 2018, the states were supposed to have a plan for preservation by October 2018. They got them to roll it all the way to October 2022, which they had to do a preservation plan. So they do have and there's actually a website. It's called the Family First Tracker or something like that. I don't know. Somebody put it together. I don't know if it's totally up to date, but some of the states enacted laws. Tennessee did not. I tried to get Tennessee to enact a law. They wouldn't do it. Some of them have policies. Some of them just have a little brochure basically. So, and most families don't know about it. So if the family doesn't know about it, the family doesn't know how to specifically ask. And that's another reason for advocacy, because we can say, okay, look, we want new mattresses for the kids. Like, you have access to funds for new mattresses for the kids. Can you bring those out next Tuesday? Right. We want to do that. We want if there's a medical need. I mean, most of the children in Tennessee can go on TennCare, but not everybody knows it. So, we need to make sure we have proper medical services, et cetera, in place. So, a family advocate can do that. Here's a couple other things a family advocate can do. One of them is ADA, which is the Americans with Disabilities Act. So under the ADA, you are a person, the state has to comply with ADA, and they're entitled to reasonable accommodations. And ADA stands for Americans with Disabilities. And some people say, well, I don't have a disability. Well, here's the thing. If you're involved in a CPS case and they ask you to do a mental health evaluation, you are being treated as though you have a mental disability. And if you're being treated as though, or regarded as having have a mental disability, then you qualify for some of those reasonable accommodation systems. There was a great Department of Justice and HHS letter that was sent out in 2015 called the Sarah Gordon case, which was then followed up by technical guidance, which said that in a child welfare case, the ADA applies. And if a parent does have a disability, such as low IQ functioning or a child with high needs, etc., that having a family member who will help them with their child is a reasonable accommodation to be able to meet the requirements of the state. So that is another area, for instance, for advocacy. So, and of course, with some of our other people that we've talked to, education is another one, right? Like if they're taking kids in Tennessee for freaking truancy, and they're taking the whole family. Like they don't just take the truant kid, they take like all the kids for truancy. So understanding how to overcome that. There's a few other problems in Tennessee I'm very disturbed about. I have now recently found out that when a child goes missing from DCS that's in foster care, they never put them on an Amber Alert. Yeah, and they just barely put him on the missing. I forced them to put a child on the missing child's page recently, but parents don't know that if they have a child in foster care and their child runs away, sometimes DCS does not even tell them. They don't even know. So being able to be able to demand, like, look, we want a welfare report on this child like weekly, right? Which also helps, keep the child tuned in. So yes, somebody, Henry, up there posted ADA. So thank you, Henry, for that. So that's another area.
So Connie, the devil's advocate here.
Yeah, sure.
One of the things, that we've heard concerning the bill is that the states are going to regulate advocates. Like, what is your response to that? Like they say, do we really want the government again regulating us?
Well, we're not going to get the bill passed in Congress without that requisite requirement, because there's only certain things they can do. That is something that we just have to fight and control. It says rules and regulations. It doesn't really, whether they, I hate that the state tries to license everything, right? Like, because of the way they control licensure. So, that'll be an issue that we'll work with. But I honestly think, I will say this, the American Bar Association, I'm going to add a couple things. The American Bar Association created the parent representation subsection in 2017. And I went in 2019, I went to Virginia. We had about 600 attorneys there from across the country. And they just started having that chatter about basically multidisciplinary or peer support work to work with them. And they started having that and just barely in 2019. The last one I went to was in 2023 or 4, maybe 24. And it is all over the place. Okay. So it's all over the place with the ABA that attorneys cannot do it all. They need peer advocates. They need people to work with them. And a couple states have recognized that. North Carolina has an advocate program that is, which is a fairly good sample, which I will probably pull up and use.
Florida has one.
But it is not a legal representation.
Right.
A role. So, and, with full disclaimer, it will never be a legal representation role. But, there are also basically in this world, there are things like litigation support organizations, right? And those litigation support organizations, the work that they do, or it's like a veterans advocate, right? Or an educational advocate. It's like a peer support advocate is a person who just has knowledge of that process and can do that support. So I'm sure we'll have some obstacles that we have to overcome with that,
Always.
you know.
Yeah.
We can't leave it just like total loosey-goosey, right? I mean, there needs to be some guidance. Yes, Henry, I am very well aware of Tennessee v. Lane. I have used Tennessee v. Lane, and I am in Tennessee. So thank you for that. And I have, I actually have, we do have created the Family Forward, and it's just a form. I have hundreds of forms that I am using and modifying for people to use, but one of them is ADA. And I have a Family Forward project, has an all states ADA form, and it has 3 different sections to it. It has the motion for an ADA advocate. It has a proposed order for an ADA advocate, and it has the formal request that you have to submit for reasonable accommodations and an ADA advocate. So, you know, those are the kinds of things that we will, you know, begin to build and push out there even more. So, and what does an ADA advocate do? So that's going to vary too, right? ADA advocates are not required to be licensed either. So can an ADA advocate be in the courtroom with them? You know, there are some things that say, yes, they can, that they can even sit beside them at the table, because it depends on what that claimed disability is and what accommodations they ask for.
Mm-hmm. Very good. That clears it up.
So, and you know, also another area with the medical kidnap is and you know, like Rachel has kind of talked about, when they show up at the hospital or the emergency room. And right now in Tennessee, if a child goes to the emergency room, they are required to call DCS. They are absolutely required. And they even have a form there. They have a form, because I had a parent call me on this. They have a form in the emergency room that they give to the parent and says, this form, you can consent to me calling DCS with this form. But if you deny it, I'm still going to call them. I'm just going to give you the opportunity to consent, which I think is very weird, which is probably, you would think, has some HIPAA thing involved, right? Like, you know, because can they really, although they can call.
The child abuse pediatrician doesn't identify themselves, right? Like there are no HIPAA. Like this doctor came to my bedside telling me that she was the pediatrician on call.
Right.
But she was actually the child abuse pediatrician that was going to write the court report.
Yeah.
And in the court report, she says that my son's injury had to have occurred between this time and this time, and that I was not emotional enough, that I was not exhibiting the normal behaviors of a grieving mother, like just doing all this psychoanalysis on me, right, without informing me anything. And it wasn't until I saw my lawyer that one of the first questions he asked, please tell me you didn't speak to Dr. Wong.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I said, I did. And he's like, do not speak to that woman. She is the devil. I'm like, okay, like, what am I supposed to do? When she comes by and she starts asking me stuff, he's like, you just nod your head. You don't say anything. You don't have any questions for her. Just be quiet.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Yeah. And I see Henry over here is popping some great notes in the chat over here. And he's right. Everything you see there is correct about the effective communication, et cetera.
Henry's our ADA guy. He has a show on Saturday nights that everybody should check out. He's been out because he's been doing his own thing, but yeah, Henry's a machine when it comes to the ADA stuff. Like, he's a good guy to know, and he's like literally a machine. He can go on for hours.
Well, and I'll tell you, the state does not have immunity under ADA, but only if it's a constitutional, only if they violate your constitutional rights. So, you know, access to the courts, access to parenting, et cetera. So
it seems like ADA, as powerful as it's supposed to be, doesn't get that power to get you into when you're in the courts. Like, they're not paying attention if you're claiming ADA violations or anything. They're just kind of brushing them off.
Well, here's what
like the biggest thing, like Henry's thing is like the I just had it in my head, the responsible employee, the designated responsible employee. Like, no one even knows who that is.
Right.
And that's a big deal. That should stop everything. But people are just flying right over that like it's not a thing.
Right. That's right. And that's the thing. People don't know they have ADA rights, right? And that's part of the problem with ADA. There's no affirmative duty on the part of the state to inform a person that there is ADA. So there's not an affirmative, although they will tell you right away, oh, we're going to tell you about TPR because we're going to terminate your rights. Right. So they do warn them about TPR, but they don't talk about ADA. And again, that's why an advocate is important, to be able to recognize those kind of gaps. But even like in medical kidnapping, and, I have done a couple of very critical medical kidnap cases. And in one case, I put on 8 hours, I think, of medical testimony on a fractured rib case. And in addition to that 8 hours, I had 2 different experts. Both of those experts, I spent about 3.5 hours on the phone with each one of them separately, getting myself educated on what I would be looking for, what kind of questions I would be asking them. And also I spent about another, probably 4 hours. One of the doctors sent me tons of research articles, a whole notebook full of research articles that I read. And then, I looked at the medical records and the x-rays. Okay. So all together in that case, between presenting the medical evidence, doing the depositions, preparing, interviewing the witnesses, looking at the medical records, I have a 4-inch notebook on rickets, basically infantile rickets. And altogether, I would say on that alone, I spent at least 20 hours, if not 25 hours. Now, there are not attorneys who are going to spend 25 hours studying that issue, studying that medical issue, and finding a proper expert, and then preparing that expert, and then getting the questions kind of aligned for that expert. And also, in addition to that, what I also did was I took the Vanderbilt deposition and I reviewed it, because they had done the deposition before I got in the case. So I reviewed it, so I was prepared to attack it. And I have read multiple medical depositions related to medical kidnapping issues. So again, an advocate, now that's kind of a special area, just like the ADA is sort of a special area, really looking at the medical issues. So you have general advocacy that just understands what we've talked about already, like the child and family team meetings, what to do when they show up at your door, how to get your parent plan done so you can get your kids back, how to make a court report. Those are all general issues. And then there are specialized topics that advocates can be sort of specialized and trained in. And that's why it's important to have a network of advocates, just like Rachel said, like there's times that she calls me and she's like, okay, what do you think about this? Which direction should I send them? So, and I'm quite, able to do that. So, the thing with medical, then, to have somebody be able to specialize in that medical area. So that, because these court appointed attorneys, they're, what?
I would like to point
Shar,
something out about everybody that's up here too, is that can you hear me? I would like to point that everybody here on this panel tonight also, we also do things. We do Zooms. We do different things with different advocacy groups. We sit in on meetings with MAHA. I know I do, and Connie has too, I'm sure. With MAHA Institute, MAHA Media, I sit in with. I also sit in with the ABA against TPR. So we also do workshops and things like that. So we stay in the loop and keep ourselves educated and along with everything. Also, we're not just here, just to be on a podcast. Okay, we work. we are, how can I put it? Our paperwork going doesn't stop.
Yeah. And to follow up on that, for example, I have a relationship with the MAHA Institute advocate for Tennessee, and she invited me to come up to Washington in May, where the MAHA Institute had a very special all-day panel for the use of psychotropic medication for foster children, which is another area for advocates to discuss. But they have this whole day program. It was actually very good. Well, about the end of the day, Alex Adams was there, and he was on this panel. And, you know, I'm going to say this belovedly. I think Alex Adams is a robot because I don't get him. I just don't get him. But anyway, I'm going to pretend there is some sincerity there. So Alex was on the panel, and Shar was watching and like following me around the room by video. But I went my way up to Alex and I said, Alex, I says, we can't get a law passed. We can't get a law. If you can get President Trump to do an executive order on the administration of psychotropic drugs for children with certain restrictions and oversight, and then you write, once we have an executive order, if you write a technical guidance and you put that out to all the Title IV agencies, then us people out in the field have something that we can work with, because we can say, hey, you know, there's an executive order and we may not get your Title IV money. And so he says, do you have that written? And I said, of course I do. So he did hook me up with somebody in his office. I did send those to him, but like I said, I'm not sure. He might be a robot, because although he looks like he's working very hard, we're not getting responses on that program that we did in May. I mean, in May, it was a punch program. I mean, it was where people got up and talked about how horrible the psychotropic medication was for foster children, and we've done nothing. So, but that's a whole nother area where an advocate can help, because I just reviewed one child's records. Oh my gosh. It was horrible what this poor child, who they started on psychotropic medications at 9 years old and put him in a psych ward. And they had him on about 5 different medications, but they would start and stop them like randomly. Like there was absolutely no oversight, and nobody ever went back to check on him.
That's torture. That's absolutely torture.
And a
child is a ward of the state. I mean, they gave my son 13 vaccines without our consent. They forced him through a full skeletal survey without our consent. They gave him an anal wink test, which is for sexual abuse, when there weren't even any allegations of sexual abuse. My son is not even 2 years old at this point, okay? Like, that is child abuse, right? What you put this 2-year-old kid through, not even a 2-year-old kid through. So, I mean, they have no regard for these kids. Right? Once they're in custody, you know, they could do whatever the heck they want to them.
Well, that's why we're all here.
Yeah.
All of us.
Does anybody else have questions out here that you guys want to ask before we wrap this up? So we're approaching the 2-hour mark here.
So I see, so he's given us poking a lot of ADA stuff in there. I'm making a few notes of what he's saying. I'll go back and read the comments again later.
I can get you know what, Connie, I'll give you his contact information and you can talk to him if you like.
Absolutely.
Henry's a machine. Absolutely.
Yeah. So he's talked about a couple different things, which is the 42 USC ADA code, and then also CFR, which is the Code of Federal Regulations. And I'm just going to put this out there so people can kind of understand it, since we're sort of in education mode here anyway. So the U.S. Code is what Congress passes, okay? Those are the laws that Congress passes. Once Congress passes a law, typically somewhere in that law, there's a sentence that says that the agency can enact or pass rules and regulations for the enforcement of the law. So what happens is then it goes to HHS, which is Health and Human Services, or Administration of Children and Families. And in Administration of Children and Families, they start writing rules and regulations, and then those are codified under the CFR. Now, there's a very same thing. So 42 USC 671, 672, and 673 are the CAPTA and ASFA, and then the CFR is different. CFR is in also 28 CFR. I don't have that number off the top of my head, but we want to be well versed in that, because we want to be able, they use certain judicial cliches such as best interest of the child, contrary to the welfare of the child. substantial risk of harm, right? They just throw out all these words without
circumstances.
Exigent circumstances. They throw out all these words without true definitions. And so we need to continue to challenge them on what those cliches are and what the actual definitions are. So yeah, y'all are awesome. And, we have much work to do, but getting this bill passed, this very simple congressional bill, and what you can do, what everybody needs to do, if you don't have it already, is you need to go to congress.gov and find your congressperson, and you need to put them in your phone. You need to put their phone number and you need to put their email. And you need to be willing to make a phone call. They have to register every phone call that comes into the office, and they have to tell their congressman what happened. They have to report every week what happened, who contacted the office, what are they talking about, etc. So your communication makes a difference. Only it's not going to make a difference if we have 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 people. But if we have 70,000 people call their office, it will make a difference.
Mm-hmm. All right.
I do want to say this. Hold on, Darren. Connie, I don't know if this will help your bill or not. You might want to look into it. I believe it's the United States Supreme Court bill. Please double check. I couldn't find it. I've been looking for it. I believe it's the NAACP versus Button. And that gives people like us not so much the authority, but the permission to help people without being charged for practicing law without a license. So I would definitely look into that. I'm pretty sure it's NAACP versus Button. I know it's an NAACP case.
Yeah, I know a little bit about that, and it really talks about the distinguishing between advocacy and public advocacy versus legal representation. Yeah, so thank you for bringing that up. I have looked at it before, but I will look at that again.
Charlene, you got anything that you want to throw out for some last words here? We'll go up to Rickett and we'll get us out of here.
Well, I just want to say thank you guys for having us here. This has been awesome. There was an agenda for this, that we accomplished that, and that there are Netflix or podcasts or things like that. Our mission is the children and the families. Bring them kids home. Bring them home. First of all, let's prevent there. We're all here. Bring them home. That's where I'm at. CAssociationguys.com. Go out and check it out. I'm there.
Yep.
I'm not afraid to say I'm against CPS.
That's why I'm in trouble now, because of my mouth and what I do.
Guilty.
Yep.
Yep, agree with everything you ladies have said. And, I never knew such a system existed until it happened to me. And I tell everybody, like, if it could happen to me, it could happen to anybody. So, when you see, foster care is the Make-A-Wish Foundation. I grew up in church where foster care, you're rescuing all these children. It's the most beautiful thing. And I always think about what would a foster family be told about me and my case, right? And my children.
Oh, you're horrible.
My 7-week-old son, bullet to the head, save the 20-month-old kid. I'm like,
no, they would have said, they probably said you hid the 20-month-old. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, like, one of our friends that is a social worker, she said, oh no, they would have told them that you beat the heck out of the kid. That's what they would have told them. Right. So, I encourage people to please do your due diligence, to look at the funding, to look at what is actually going on. Don't believe everything you read. Don't believe the narratives that are out there. I don't believe 87% of parents choose to abuse their children. Right? Parents are there, and I believe in the family. I believe God created the family, and God chose you to be that child's parent, and he equipped you to be that child's parent. And our job is to keep these families together.
Yeah, and for everybody out there, if you are not in Family Forward Project, please jump in there on Facebook and follow me, as well as follow Rachel and Shara on Facebook as well. And do something every single day. And that's something, if you see somebody on Family Forward Project who is having a tough time, just give them a word of encouragement in a comment. Just say, hey, gotcha, there's a lot of people here just like you. Don't be embarrassed. Don't be afraid. Keep punching forward. I mean, even just words of encouragement are very, very valuable. People are messaging me all the time. I can't get to everybody. I'm talking to 2 or 3 families a day. So do something every single day, or learn a little bit more, or watch one of my videos, or watch one of my training videos. But the only way we can make a difference is to be proactive.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys. Tiff, you have anything that you want to say before we get out of here? Mm-hmm.
Sorry about that. I'm tired. My eyes couldn't see the mic. I want to thank you all for coming on. I think you guys are great. You're doing a lot. I appreciate you. For a long time, I thought I was the Lone Ranger out here. I felt so alone helping parents. But, it is what it is. They came after me too, because of my mouth. So don't feel bad. I make it very known that I'm against CPS. Absolutely. You do not do the right thing. If you were doing the right thing, my big fat mouth wouldn't be open about it.
Yeah.
And I appreciate all the work you guys are doing. Great job.
Thank you.
All right. All right, guys. Thank you all so much for coming. This was great. And it's real. So we could stop that. We could put the kibosh to that. This thing is real. It's working. So make sure you guys call your local senators, your congresspeople, tell them that you want this stuff to go through. Connie, Rachel, Shar, thank you all so much. Look up this stuff. Look up their books. Look up other things. And guys, keep keep Alex in your prayers. We got to find him. He's missing for 4 months, guys. So let's keep him in our prayers. Have a good night, everybody.
Mama cried while the children screamed. Nothing was the way it seemed. One signature, one judge, one file, and they tore that home apart in a little while. They say it's justice, say it's care, but too many broken hearts are lying there behind those doors where no one sees. Families fall down to their knees. Paper chains and courtroom walls, children crying down the halls. They take the baby, split the blood, and drown the truth beneath the flood. Money moves while the parents pray. Another child gets taken away. Voices silenced, lives destroyed, while hope gets treated like a toy. Foster checks keep rolling in while the broken homes can't ever win. The kids need love, the kids need care, but the system leaves them scared in their fathers fighting, mothers torn, living every night and morning, trying to prove what should be clear, that love was always standing here. They say it's safety, say it's right, but too many souls can't sleep at night, caught inside bureaucracy, a machine without humanity. Paper chains and courtroom walls, children crying down the halls. They take the baby, split the blood, and drown the truth beneath the flood. Money moves while the parents pray. Another child gets taken away. Voices silenced, lives destroyed, while hope gets treated like a toy. No child should be a paycheck line, no family erased by design, no mother begging through the pain just to hold her child again. The truth survives, the truth will rise beyond the reports and scripted lies, and someday all the world will see what happens behind protective agencies. Paper chains are breaking down, Truth is shaking every town. Families standing hand in hand, fighting back across the land. No more silence, no more fear, no more stolen childhood years. Love is stronger than the lies, and broken hearts will someday rise.
They said don't fight the system. They said stay quiet.
They were wrong. Lock in. We are exposing what so many have failed to. We are going to show you what bar attorneys have hidden from all of us. Hundreds of thousands of children and twice that of parents have been lied to and walked down the road of termination. It's the death penalty. We're all of the protesters, the ones who fight for the rights of prisoners, dogs, illegal immigrants. Why aren't you coming to the aid of our children and families? Right here in America, every day a child per minute is kidnapped.
And no one cares. We fight alone until today. CPS Punishers mount up. Here comes the CPS Punisher.
Anonymous tip, another lie from one of them. No warrant, no proof, just a badge and a grin. Stealing kids like trophies, thinking they'll win. Mama crying on the porch, daddy in the cage. System wrote the script, but the CPS Punisher just flipped the page. The educator they banned, I see every violation, every forged line, every ex-part hearing, every stolen time. One tap of the app and the truth ignites. Welcome to the CPS Punisher, now we can fight.
CPS and the courts have lied to us all.
CPS Punisher, here to avoid the chains and expose the game. CPS Punisher, the educator they never wanted you to find. Punisher, one tap and their empire cracks. We rise, we take our kids back. The app is called the CPS Punisher.
I'm the cape in the shadows, the skull in the night, the binder full of secrets and weapons you all need. Ab initio, watch me void that lie. Fourth Amendment armor, watch the tyrants cry. Falsified drug test gone in a flash. I see Tebio, warrior, due process king. Every parent hero when the hotline rings. I call it justice. Download the truth, now the system busts us. From the courtroom to the streets, hear the battle cry. The CPS Punishers arrive. Kiss your bar asses goodbye. They tried to silence us, now we're the loudest voice in the room.
CPS Punisher,
Here to avoid the chains and expose the game.
CPS Punisher,
The educator they never wanted you to find.
Punisher,
The children never leave again. Families rise, we never look back. We now use the CPS Punisher. This ain't revenge, this is reunification. This ain't rage, this is resurrection. Open the app, step into the fight. You ready?
CPS Punisher,
The app you need when they took your kid.
CPS Punisher,
The truth they hid, now the truth gets lit.
Punisher,
Download the power, take back the throne.
Punisher,
You're never alone. CPS Punisher, the educator they never wanted you to find. Void complete, family restored. The bar is finished, the Constitution will prevail. Judges do what's right. Treason is your penalty.
CPS Punisher.
Here comes the CPS Punisher.